I just took a look at some of the headlines on the Drudge Report this morning, which is the world's greatest news aggregator. That means news that happens in various other places. He brings it all together on one site. And there's a woman here in a shirt that says Hillary, and it reads below the picture, Girls Disturbed, and mentions that Bernie Sanders could be picking up some of the key endorsements from some of the environmental leftists in this country. And then there's this little red headline. Well, okay, I'm ignoring the one that says Dow is down 400, but that's becoming a daily occurrence. Pay no attention to that. You know, people say the stock market and the economy, it's not necessarily a good gauge of the economy when you look at the stocks, what stocks are doing. Of course it is. I mean, ultimately, yes, the stock market could do handstands some days and it may have no impact. But ultimately, there is a relationship there at some point. And one is people are saying, this Obama economy is really stinking up the joint. But over here on the left-hand side of the page, it says, Fast and Furious rifle capable of taking down helicopter found in El Chapo cache. Or is that cache, I guess it's pronounced now. We used to say cache, and then we were told, no, that's improper. If you're an erudite, intelligent American, when you read that word, you have to say cache, even though it looks like cache. I had to learn these things the hard way. People call me up on the radio. I'm a retired English teacher, and you mispronounced that. But it's a French word, right? Yes, but I'm telling you, you mispronounced that. So the president, as it turns out, has been trying to hide a lot of the Fast and Furious details over the last several years. You know, how they were purposefully running guns to Mexico so they could be used in crime, so then they could come back and demand more gun control here. People were getting killed left and right, even on our side of the border, and it was like, yes, now you see, guns are bad, that's why we need to have more control. Well, wait a minute. If you gave them the guns to kill everybody, I'm not following this. I read yesterday where it looks as if a court decision says that we can go ahead and have more. They cannot, in other words, any longer hide the details on all of this. Speaking of details, people hiding details, this movie is getting really, really rave reviews. This 13 hours, I was going to go see it last Sunday. I got tied up. Football will do that to you. I got all tied up, and luckily my team doesn't ever make the playoffs, so I'm not too tied up on it. That is, my stomach's not tight enough. But a lot of people apparently went to see the movie over the weekend. It was number 4 at the box office. It is opening people's eyes as to what happened in Benghazi, Libya, and people are starting to say, you know what? This story, this was a massive cover-up in order to buy 4 more years for the Socialist Party here in the United States. Last night, the director of that film, Michael Bay, happened to be on Bill O'Reilly's show because the leftists in media, who are out to, of course, pave the way for more socialists, are saying this is an attack on Hillary Clinton and the movie's all wrong. And everybody in government, in the FBI, CIA, and military, they've all been ordered that if they want a promotion, they'll deny that everything in the movie is true. So in other words, Hillary doesn't lie, the movie maker lies. Michael Bay, appearing last night on Bill O'Reilly's program on the Fox News channel, and he explains that the film, get this, he says, it's not meant to be political.
I've been fortunate enough to work with these special operators for 20 years. I've been friends with many, many SEALs, and they're an extraordinary group of people. They're very selfless, and this is a very tragic story. It avoids the politics, it gives you the facts, but at the end of the day, it's an inspirational story.
Okay, I saw the movie, I enjoyed it, a lot of action, you really know how to do that very well. I think that if you went to see it and you didn't know about Benghazi, Libya, you might be a little lost for a while, because you pick it up assuming people know what the narrative is. Gaddafi falls, chaos ensues, an idealistic ambassador wants to make America, put America in a good light to the Libyan people. He takes chances, and bang, he dies. But for people who don't really know anything about Benghazi in the news, they might be a little lost.
I don't really agree with that, but listen, we've gotten amazing feedback on this movie. I've had two 4-star generals and several other generals really praise the movie, and both sides of the aisle are really impressed with the movie.
So he's saying, look, I'm not getting a whole lot of negative feedback. The only people who are criticizing it are the people who worked for President Obama and used to work for Hillary Clinton. Everybody else is fine with this film, which does show the fact that someone somehow told them Don't go in and rescue these people. In other words, these are Americans, brave Americans, we'll let them die. That was the decision that was made. The movie never mentions Hillary or Barack, but you can get the inference while you're watching it who was in charge and who was making that call. And they let 4 Americans, they left them there so they could be butchered, tortured, and killed. And yet, we keep hearing, well, there won't be any indictment against Hillary Clinton for the email scandal. There won't be any indictment for... How did we get here to the point where such criminal acts can be clearly ignored by the vast majority of the media, government, and to some degree even the American people? Aren't people appalled by this sort of action at all anymore? Do we have any conscience left, as a country? Where we just, well, that's the way it is. Big deal. People do this all the time in politics. What are you getting so worked up about? Come on, Bill. What do you think we are, a Christian nation or something? Not any longer. I'll take some of your calls coming up in a few minutes. Bill Colley with you on Top Story this morning on News Radio 1310, KLIX, newsradio1310.com. One more half hour ahead, and then the great one, Rush Limbaugh.